Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots is finally out of PS3 jail. But is the Master Collection Volume 2 actually worth it? Welcome back, I'm Zarathustra, better known as Zaru, and this is my review of the Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 2. For most people, the main reason to pick up this collection of remasters is Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots. It's the final chapter in Solid Snake's story, and it closes out the saga that Hideo Kojima originally created. But there's more going on here than just one big game, because this collection also tells us something important about where Konami stands right now. Master Collection Volume 2 includes 3 games: Metal Gear Solid 4, Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker, and Metal Gear Solid Ghost Babel, known internationally simply as Metal Gear Solid for the Game Boy Color. On paper, that's fewer games than the first collection, but in practice it feels like a more focused and more honest package. Before we get into the games themselves, though, we need to talk about what happened with Volume 1. When the first Master Collection launched in 2023, it ended up dividing fans. The idea of replaying Metal Gear Solid Sons of Liberty and Snake Eater was exciting, but it quickly became clear that Konami had done almost nothing to improve those games technically. The marketing promised 1080p, yet the actual titles ran at native 720p. Frame rates were disappointing, and Digital Foundry even pointed out that image quality was worse than Bluepoint's old HD collection on PS3 and the Xbox 360. The PC version didn't even have a proper mouse and keyboard support, and the default controls were basically unusable. Fan backlash became loud enough that Konami eventually admitted the first collection fell short. So, they went back to work, and 3 years later, Volume 1 is in much better shape, even if fan mods still do a lot of the heavy lifting if you are on PC to get optimal results. Now we have Volume 2. And it's pretty clear that Konami actually learned something from the whole experience. Let's start with the main event, MGS4. For years, Guns of the Patriots was trapped on PlayStation 3. This is the first time it's been officially playable on modern hardware, and in some ways this version feels almost transformative. Visually, it still looks like a game from 2 generations ago, that's unavoidable. But the difference now is that you don't need a PS3 or a powerful emulation setup to play it properly. Some PC players can get similar or even better results through PS3 emulation, but that requires a strong rig and a lot of patience. For most people, this native port is now the best and most reliable way to experience MGS4. What impressed me most is how smoothly everything runs. Even in chaotic action sequences, the frame rate holds up well. The load times, which were generally annoying in the original, are now almost non-existent. Back on PS3, you would sit through long loading screens while Old Snake smoked a cigarette. Those moments are gone now, and honestly, it almost feels a little strange. This version of MGS4 is a brand new remaster, not just a re-release of old work. It supports native 4K resolution, and from my own testing, it doesn't cut the small license details that made the original feel so specific. Real-world brands and products are still there. The iPod is back. The PlayStation 3 model is back. These are exactly the kind of details that usually get removed in remasters, so it's generally nice to see them preserved. The Metal Gear Solid 4 database also returns. It was originally a companion app on PS3, and now it's included in the collection. That's a deep cut, and it shows an unusual level of care on Konami's part. The only real missing piece is the original online mode, but given how poorly the recent Fox Hunt mode performed in Metal Gear Solid Delta, I don't think it's fair to hold that against this collection. As a game, Metal Gear Solid 4 hasn't changed. It's still excessive, messy, and at times almost grotesque, but it's also bold and completely uncompromising. This is Kojima at his most self-aware, trying to force an ending onto a saga that didn't want to end. Some of the bosses feel like Frankenstein monsters stitched together from pieces of previous games, and that's the point, it's a game about franchise anxiety. The result is uneven and sometimes deliberately awkward, but there's more genuine Metal Gear spirit in its 71-minute ending cutscene than in anything I've felt since Phantom Pain. Now let's talk about Peace Walker. Unlike MGS4, Peace Walker is not a new remaster made for this collection, it's the Blue Point Games version from the old HD collection, so the improvements are mostly visual. The 2D art has been recreated at a higher resolution, which makes the graphic novel cutscenes look noticeably sharper. Online multiplayer is still there, with co-op supporting up to 4 players and versus mode supporting up to 6. But beyond that, I didn't find any meaningful upgrades compared to the HD collection released years ago. On the technical side, Peace Walker runs at native 1080p with FSR upscaling to 4K. There is one issue worth mentioning. In standard full screen, the image has small black bars on the sides. Switching to borderless full screen fixes it, so it's the kind of thing a day one patch should solve pretty easily. Peace Walker is one of the most overlooked games in the entire series. It started as a PSP title and a lot of people ignored it because of that, but its story is actually essential to understanding how Snake became Big Boss. On the surface, Costa Rica looks bright and cheerful, but underneath there is Cold War paranoia, political manipulation, and one of the darkest stories in the franchise. I strongly recommend playing Metal Gear Solid 3 before Peace Walker, and if you can, the recent remake is a good place to start. Then there's Ghost Babel. This is the Game Boy game included as a bonus. It's a spin-off but doesn't really affect the main timeline. It references the original 1987 MSX game, but it plays very differently. The stealth action is built around 2D movement with an overhead camera and 8 directional controls. It's a nice piece of history and a welcome addition, even without its original multiplayer mode. Now, a quick note on the PC version. Don't expect a full suite of graphical options. The MGS port lets you adjust resolution, shadow quality, textures, and post-processing effects, but anti-aliasing is limited to a single FXAA toggle. Peace Walker is even more limited. You can choose between 720p and 1080p internal resolution with upscaling up to 4K. There's also an option to improve cutscene quality, and that's about it. On the control side, both games support mouse and keyboard with rebindable layouts. You can also rebind controls for joypads. I was hoping Konami would reuse the control scheme from Metal Gear Solid Delta, but that didn't happen here. And finally, let's talk about the extra materials. The package includes the original scripts for MGS4 and Peace Walker, plus digital wiki for both games. They follow the same template as the previous collection, so they're nice to have, but they won't surprise you. So, what's the final verdict? Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 2 is a leaner package than the first one, but it's also more polished, more focused, and more honest. Metal Gear Solid 4 is finally available to a wider audience, and that alone is a major win for preservation. The improvements across the collection show that Konami actually listened to feedback. This isn't a flawless celebration. There are still missing features, limited PC options, and some technical quirks. But it's a meaningful step forward, and for the first time in a long time, it feels like Konami is taking Metal Gear seriously again. It's not a perfect collection, but it's the best official way to play Metal Gear Solid 4 on modern hardware, and for a lot of players, that will be enough. What about you? Is MGS4 enough to make you pick this up? Or are you waiting for a sale? Let me know in the comments.